So, The Forgotten. And let's start with the meaning of that title. While this is an episode that features amnesia, this is really more about those people who have fallen through the cracks and need some help. Seems that Bruce Wayne spends some time helping out one of the local missions. Makes sense. Not only are the people they care for going to be a convenient target for criminals, so helping them out is keeping problems like that away, but providing people with the necessities that they need and a place to go helps otherwise law-abiding people from being tempted to break the law. But couldn't a billionaire do more than that? Besides being Batman, I mean, which is a pretty full-time job. It's hard to imagine he has time to peel potatoes down here, actually. I'm guessing that this isn't a regular thing, though. As you'll recall, the Bruce Wayne persona is supposed to be there to be pretty much a local airhead rich boy. He probably always does things like this quietly, and is only here as part of an investigation. In this case, into disappearing people. An important look into that point I'd made previously, that Batman is first here to protect, and that means all of the people of Gotham, even the ones that might live in an alley and have furious arguments with the rats. So, Bruce decides to look into this by disguising himself as a hobo and wandering the back alleys, and eventually a couple of hoods try to grab him. He deals with them easily enough, but he's distracted by a cat. Doubt that'll be the last time. So a guy clocks him over the back of the head. He comes to shackled to a bed in a bunkhouse with no memory of who he is, which is bad. Though I think he's always felt that the less people who know his secret identity, the better, so this one could probably go in the win column. He meets Salvo and Dan. Like everyone else, they've been kidnapped and turned into slaves here, with sickly gruel as their only food, and even that is more than what the guy in charge thinks they're worth.
From now on, they'll bring me twice the gold ore. Do you hear me?
Well, with this kind of fare to keep them in tip-top shape, that won't be any problem. Apparently one guy is singled out for no other reason than an example is needed, because he's just minding his own business there, and then he's tossed in a hot box.
Now, get to work, or you'll all roast.
Roast. Back at Wayne Manor, Alfred is wondering what's up with the master. Staying out past dawn isn't like him, like a vampire or a college student. But yeah, he's working the mine.
How you holding up?
I don't want to nitpick, but that doesn't look like gold to me. Seems that Dan here was picked up by mistake. He used to volunteer some free time to help people in trouble down at the mission, and it was assumed that he was a transient nobody would miss. So, lesson learned. Never help anyone ever. See? He could be at home playing video games. Now he's in a collapsed mine shaft. There's an Aesop for you. Well, Alfred may not be the world's greatest detective, but he's no slouch, and notes that if Batman's vehicle is here, Batman probably isn't the one who went out last night. While he digs into things, Bruce dreams about bats, and the real him turns into the Joker until he is himself again back in front of the mission. A guy comes by for a handout, and Bruce starts giving them out until he realizes there's more hands than money, and he sheds a tear. Gotham's problems are too big for one man to solve, yet he's committed to doing so anyway. He presents a facade of being cold and unfeeling as Batman, yet what we see when we look into his thoughts is that he cares too much. There will always be more in need of help, always more criminals that need to be stopped. It will never, ever end. And part of what makes him a hero is that he knows this, and he refuses to let it stop him. Even if he can't make a difference in every life, he can still make a difference in some. That's the real Aesop. The size of problems is not an excuse to ignore them, because it's not about the problem. It's about people. Just because everyone will still be rained on doesn't mean that sharing your umbrella isn't an act of kindness. At the other end of the spectrum is the asshole in charge, who responds to Salvo blowing a raspberry behind his back by throwing him in the hot box. So Bruce and Dan stand up for him and make a good show of it. But without his utility belt, there's only so much Bruce can do. So they get hot boxes of their own. You get a hot box and you get a hot box. Oh, and thanks a lot for pitching in there, assholes. Eesh. When I said never help anyone ever, I was joking. Meanwhile, Alfred has risen to the occasion, tracking down Bruce's car and then putting a tracking device on the suspicious truck, which sure enough leads right back to the mine, where Bruce has finally remembered who he is. He's Batman. If he's Batman, then he can kick some ass, starting with this hotbox, which technically doesn't have an ass, but let's not quibble over the details. Okay, need a plan. Step 1, I'm Batman. Step 2, problem solved. Fortunately, to make that a little more fleshed out, Alfred is coming in the Batplane. I bet Mr. Belvedere never has to put up with this crap. They finally make it, and Bruce arrives so that he can get his stuff on and deal with the crook in charge.
Those fools let that prisoner escape. I'll eat him alive.
I used to think that was just an expression. Now I'm not so sure. Well, everyone is shocked when Batman comes through the door carrying a couple of the goons, but this was just to get some attention. Now that he's got it, they're going to chase him into the mine, where there'll be easy pickings for a man of the shadows. So the guy in charge gets the bright idea of turning off all the lights and using their mining caps. Yeah, advertise where you are. That'll work. As is obvious to anyone, Batman quickly picks these assholes off anyway, leaving just the big boss, who panics and accidentally starts a fire right next to his big pile of mining explosives. Well, we might be inclined to think that this is a good case of karma, him being buried down here in his own mine, but Batman isn't big on karma, I guess, because he saves the guy, sending him out the side and into the river. How could you possibly drown? I mean, look at you. Life preservers should use you as a flotation device. So, they're all saved, return to Gotham, and Bruce offers them a chance to work for him at Wayne Tech. So a happy ending, especially since we see Dan is reunited with his loved ones. It draws to a conclusion a nice new look at who Batman is. Not just about stopping crime, but doing so to make things better for other people. This offers a different perspective on his obsession, that it isn't born from a hatred of criminals, but a love for his city and its people.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
Buckets of bolts?
Your funeral.
Oh dear. Yeah.